Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. God, creator, sustainer, and source of wisdom, guide the deliberations of this council. Guide us in the paths of justice and peace, that this community and our country will embrace the goals and dreams of all people everywhere. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Ulmer, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2. Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Yeah.
Diane Tate, Ward 5.
Here.
Cass Wren, Ward 6.
So I'm living. Thank you, Meredith. Our first order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from January the 5th. And council, you've had these well in advance of this evening, had an opportunity to look them over. And we'll get a chance to review Ms. Ulmer's first work here as the clerk. So.
Well, Mayor, her first work, official work, absolutely no corrections, additions, anything, just congratulations, make a motion to approve.
Before y'all do that, there is a minor correction. It's not Meredith's fault, it is my fault. Since I was not in town last week, the revised ordinance that y'all approved was not sent over with those minutes, but I am recommending y'all approve the minutes with that revision being included, which I'll be giving to Meredith on Monday.
Okay. I told you didn't look at them close enough.
Make a motion to approve with council's addition as said.
Very good. And second, thank you, Lindsay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved unanimously. Mr. Menino, we've got the second reading of an alcohol ordinance amendment. If you'll get us started with that, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, this is a second reading. There have been no additions or changes since the first reading. This is a clarification for distance requirements in the MU zoning district for the alcohol ordinance. And with that, the Alcohol Control Board did recommend approval of this amendment.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on this item? There's none. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Grove, next item, please, sir.
Yeah, this is a resolution relative to time change on March 16th for Civic Youth Day. It's one of two times during the year that we move the meeting from the evening to morning. So, resolution in your packet, I recommend your approval.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Jones, you have quite a stack to present to us this morning. If you'll please get us started with your work, sir.
First up, we need to execute an engineering services agreement with G-Ben Turnipseed. This is a document that we typically do prior to engaging a new engineering firm. This is our standard agreement. Mr. Lovell did find that we need the addition of one sentence, I believe. It's our standard immigration language, so would ask your approval of that agreement contingent upon the addition of that language to his satisfaction.
Okay. And if any discussion on this, and if not, if the motion would include that recommendation, it'd be appreciated.
Motion to include that recommendation.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Bob.
Yes, sir. This will be the first task that we give Turnipseed under the approved agreement. They have given us a bid price of $54,000. That is a not-to-exceed price for design of the first phase of the downtown water main replacement. This will replace approximately 1,300 linear feet of roughly 100-year-old pipe. It's not all that old, but a good portion of it is. So this will be our first bite at tackling some of that oldest pipe that I think all of you have seen on some of the maps that we've had previously at some of our budget discussions. We'll take our first bite out of that. Really have this conceived as a two-phase project. We'll see how this one goes and what the community's appetite is for a round two once we get finished going through and tearing everything up that it'll take to fix this. But would recommend their bid of $54,000 to do that design work.
Does it run right down the middle of the street?
No, sir. It actually we'll try to keep as much of it out of the street as possible. We'd like to stay out of the middle of the street where we can.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? If there is none, a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Next one, please, Bob.
Yes, sir. This is the replacement of the number 1 and 2 high service pumps at the water treatment plant. The plant has 4 pumps total. They are split into 2 buildings. These 2 pumps will be replaced in building number 1. I know that's a lot of numbers moving around, but what we have to do is we've got to get 2 very sound pumps in the number 1 building, because the number 2 building is the building with all the structural and foundation problems. When that structural foundation issue is addressed, that building is going to have to be taken out of service for 6 to 9 months. So no power, no floor, all the piping comes out of it, and we have got to have 2 sound pumps to operate on while that's happening. So this is the first phase of doing that work. Bids were taken for the replacement of both pumps. The low bid was from Saul Construction, and that amount was $1,531,045. That has been reviewed by our design engineer. It was their recommendation that we accept that bid, and I have no reason to disagree with them. Would put that forth for you for your approval.
That's budgeted.
That is budgeted. We did budget at $1.2 million.
It's over budget, and leave that to us to figure out whether
Yeah.
we move projects around or will we pull it from reserve. I mean,
Right.
If at the latest, Tom usually comes through with a budget amendment late in the year to clean all the stuff up, but he he has ample cash in the water fund to pay for the $300,000 for the overage.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? And if there's not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, Bob.
Our small generator at the wastewater plant's 400 kW unit. It was bought in 1999. We do a test run of those units every month just to make sure that they will function should we need them. The last time we did that, we noticed that we had a pretty significant leak. Called out service company. They looked at it. The radiator is bad. We took bids for a replacement of the radiator. Given its age, they recommended that we do a replacement rather than a repair. The low bid was from Cummins Power South in the amount of $7,957 even.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue on, Bob, your last one.
Last up, Apex Drive. This is a project that we did budget. We've known has been coming for quite a while. It's related to the DOT road improvements at the 41411 interchange. There's additional fill that's being brought in this area. The road is being realigned, and that will require us to relay approximately 1,300 or so linear feet of pipe to service the new alignment. It is a budgeted item. It came in under budget. The low bid was C.H. Kirkpatrick at $79,699.36. So would recommend that for your approval.
Thank you.
Mayor, question.
Go right ahead.
Bob, how much lead time do we have on a realignment? In other words, does DOT come 2 years before we have to start thinking about the budget, or?
This one's been being discussed.
Right, this one's
I
been
walked
floating
in the
around a long
door.
time.
I mean,
Oh.
yeah, it's,
My experience has been it's variable. It
Yeah.
depends on the size of their
there's
job.
a long time on this one, but that's still, if you've got lines in the right of way, that doesn't help you any.
Yeah, this one we've known about. This project has actually been in our budget for, I know, 2 cycles,
Well,
maybe
that was my
3.
next question. How long have we had in the budget?
I know 2 cycles, possibly a third.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ms. Bolander. There you are.
Mayor, Council, this is the renewal of our Everbridge, the mass communication system, and it is for $6,825.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Did you guys approve that?
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
You saw, right?
I did. Just want to make sure.
Just talking about
Take
it.
nothing for granted.
Meredith saw.
Mr. Porta, thank you. Next three items.
Yes, Mayor. The first one is optical time domain reflector meter for the fiber department. Basically, you use that to test the fiber lines in place in case sometimes we get people that shoot them out and out in the field. It's a good way to do that. Our system current one we have is 8 years old and actually only takes a single fiber line. We've got multi-fiber lines in system now, and request purchase of approval $9,866.59 to buy a new one of these.
Questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Dan.
Next item is the sale of real property. We advertised for bids, took one bid in for 23.42 acres on Dr. Ferry Road. This is a school system property. The school system has approved this sale to David Dial in the amount of $1,701,000, and this is recommended for your approval.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? If there's none, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Final item for you, Dan.
Yes, Mayor, the next one is the Georgia Public Web. We have an authorized member representative, and with the passing of Lamar Greason, need to appoint somebody on that, and I'm going to be the replacement based on the council approval for that recommendation.
Does this make the recommendation for who that is? I believe it's to be you,
It's
isn't it?
myself, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
What is this exactly?
It's Georgia Public Web. They're kind of
Lamar
affiliated
sat
with.
on it, and he passed away at the end of last year, so recommendation is put Dan on there.
It deals with the fiber system.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Motion.
Off an enthusiastic motion.
We've got an enthusiastic motion. We have an enthusiastic second.
Enthusiastic second.
There we go. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Before Tom comes up to do the report, I do have to add 3 items to the agenda, council. If you would make a motion to add those 3 items.
So moved.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. 3 items added. Which one you want to do first? Mr. Anderson, why don't you come on up and knock that one out? Who does the next 2?
I'll do the next.
Still do it?
Gary just sit down.
Yes, Mayor and Council. We had taken bids for scoreboards for the Dillinger Park athletic fields. We received 3 bids back. The low bid did not meet specifications. The other 2 bids far exceeded our budgeted amount. And after speaking with Mr. Lovell, I'm recommending that City Council reject all bids and allow me to modify the bids and then rebid.
Okay.
I think that's the right thing to do, Mayor. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Greg. Mr. Lovell, you're going to take the last 2?
Yes, Mayor. The last 2 items deal with the extension of a transmission line for the new Transco station for the gas department. There are 2 agreements that need to be approved related to that. The first is a site or property acquisition agreement with B&G, and the second is a surveying agreement with Smith & Smith Surveyors. Both are within budget and recommended for your approval.
Okay. With council's permission, if they're so inclined, can I entertain a motion to approve both of those items?
Motion to approve both of those items.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, the finance report, please.
Let's do the trip.
Expeditiously.
Honorable Mayor and Council, we'll be looking at the financial report for November 2016 and comparing it to November 2015. In the general fund, revenues decreased over November 2015 by $9.4 million. If you remember, we did have a large payment by the school system to pay off their bond early. In the general fund expenses, they also decreased by $9.7 million, again, due to the school system paying off the bond early. 3 areas of revenue that I look at on a monthly basis: local option sales tax have a decrease of about $63,000. Police fines and forfeitures have a decrease of about $67,000. And building permits and inspection fees have an increase of about $65,000. The water and sewer fund revenues increased over last November by $1.1 million. Expenses increased by $76,000. This increase is due to increased personnel, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. In the gas fund, revenues have increased over last year by $208,000. Expenses increased by $466,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. Excuse me. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $986,000. Expenses decreased by $430,000. This is due mainly to decreased cost of electricity and decreased capital expenses. In the stormwater fund, revenues increased over last November by $37,000. Expenses increased by $83,000. And this is due to increased personnel expenses, increased capital expenses. And if you remember, we bought a piece of equipment in October of this year, October of 2016, and we're waiting for a GMA reimbursement on that item. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last November by $34,000. Expenses decreased by $239,000, and this is due to decreased operating expenses and decreased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last November by $22,000. Expenses decreased by $65,000. This is due to decreased debt service expenses and decreased capital expenses. That is my report for the evening.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Grove?
Just the general fund corrected with the influx of property tax. Gas is still in deficit for the month, for the year. We're going to need some more cold weather to get that balanced. We probably have had a little bit, but weather like this is not going to help that fund. So.
The electric guys don't mind it because everybody's running their air conditioner in the middle of January.
Yeah, I guess so. Thought about that.
Any questions for Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? All right. Well, tomorrow we will begin the day-and-a-half process of council visioning along with our department heads. Of course, we're going to be at the Public Safety Building. What time, Sam?
8:30, that is a public meeting if you would like to attend.
The order of the day is casual. No cutoff jeans and tank tops, but, you know. I just didn't want you to dress up, Keith.
I would not.
Take the tie off, just let your hair down.
I'll do that. Maybe some flip-flops.
Good. That'll be good. Any other business that needs to come before council tonight? If none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, adjourn. Didn't get a harumph out of that guy.